Hello everyone, it is Joe here from OmniPoke, the channel that brings you guys everything Pokemon. If you're looking for PTCGO codes, including the stuff from Champions Path, make sure you go ahead and check out the PoTown store. You can get a 5% discount on your orders using the code OmniPoke. For today's video, we are doing a deck analysis, but I did just want to divert your gaze to the Vivid Voltage community set review, which is going on right now, so you can go ahead. So really thank you if you have got involved, but it's a good way to get involved in getting an early glance at the cards from Vivid Voltage. The set review and all that other content will be coming soon. For today, though, we're continuing with the standard format, and we've been doing so far. Myself and Jack will be doing a rundown of that this week as well. So keep an eye out for an update on where we are all at with the league, who beat who, what decks are doing well, etc. From the league. This is one of the decks, and it's also just relatively simplistic in its game plan, because you're just a welder deck with some ×2 weakness going for you, basically. That's kind of the selling point of this build. Rather than having a big Center Scorch and no real answer to the Inteleons and Warlords and Dreadnoughts of the format, instead we have some get out of jail free cards in a bunch of different matchups. Now, yes, you're still weak to water for the most part, for most of your attackers, but you don't just straight up lose the game. You can have over other people with the amount of energy acceleration that we have in the deck. So let's jump into it. We start off with 3 Volcanions. We do want to go second with this deck because we are welder based, and because we have this Flare Starter attack, which allows us to search a deck for a fire and attach it to one of your Pokemon. Not great, but if you are going second, you get to find 3 fires and attach them to your Pokemon in any way that you like. This is amazing. Set 100 for 6 energies. Hot Burn GX is always a play that we sort of keep in mind. Damage, if you have 4 fires in play, is very nice. So when you can combine, that's kind of the core concept. And of course, Volcanion is a way around Arboreal Decidueye, so something to bear in mind, and Altaria. So yeah, that's really cool. For the rest of the fire toolbox, we have 1 Victini V. Spreading Flames can get back some energies in a pinch. Zacians in response KO just for a single welder play, which is really nice, and it means you can attach to other attackers like around your board, which is cool. Also, it can just deal with things that are overcommitting with energy attachments in general. That 30 times multiplier isn't too shabby, so there are times where he can come in, finish things off with a 2-shot, something like that is pretty decent, because he's a relatively cheap attacker compared to the other stuff that we have in here. We do have that Heatran GX as well. That Burning Road ability means he can gobble up all those energies for himself, so the fire he has attached. Auroras, obviously, when they're on the board, they can be Burning Roaded onto this guy, and they do count towards the Hot Burn, so there's no disadvantage there. Steaming Stomp as well can be a decent means of getting rid of like 1-prize Pokemon, or again finishing things off with that flat 130 vanilla, which is also a decent option as well. There's a ton of collector hype around Charizard right now. Thought I'd stick him in this deck, but no, seriously. He's a really good card in here. He's the tankiest thing that we have available at 270 hit points. And he has 3 very decent attacks. Double Blaze GX can do 200 for just a welder attachment, which is really good burst damage, which the deck can sometimes lack if you're not hitting things for weakness. You have Outrage as an option whenever people hit into this guy and can't one-shot him. And you have that solid Flare Strike, which is still 230 for 4, which is always pretty reasonable. And if you do come into these situations where you can't just use your type coverage to win a game, sometimes this Reshizard and the Heatran and all of those sorts of cards are just good enough to see you through anyway. So this card is really solid. Obviously 300 is a decent number. Also, it can be a wall breaker, so again, it can be a way around all sorts of annoying walls. So alongside our Volks, we have the Double Blaze GX as well, if we really need to. So yeah. Now onto the sort of rainbow attackers that we have. So Aurora is the main option that we have here. So we have 4 copies to hopefully get the Indeedee, the Milotic, and the Rhyperior all involved. Rhyperior V, one of the most important ones. I find him very useful against, obviously, Eternatus, thanks to your type coverage, but it's actually very reasonable against ADP as well. That Drill Run being a really decent threatening option, doing 80 and removing an attachment sometimes can be a big deal, similar to how Center Scorch can try and make life awkward for the ADP player, move their ADP out of the way, and make them have more switch outs and that sort of thing. Doing some nice preliminary damage on tag teams in general, whilst also removing an attachment, can be very useful. I've even used it against things like Mewtwo and stuff like that, because you put them out of range from knocking out Rhyperior straight away. And then you have that Heavy Rock Artillery, which does 210 for a fighting and 3 colorless, and you can't use Heavy Rock Artillery the following turn, but that's pretty okay. Rhyperior is actually very decent at trading into a tag team, like you 3 for 2 which is a favorable exchange, and obviously that type coverage is monstrous against Eternatus. Eterna is basically always a one attachment dude, so being able to drill run is super painful for them, and obviously heavy rock artillery just knocks them out clean. So Rhyperior, very threatening and dangerous card in the meta right now. We have one copy of Indeedee V. That watchover ability can sometimes come in handy. It's helpful, especially at getting rid of like Zigzagoon pings on certain things if you're up against Eternatus players. It can help keep all sorts of things out of range, really, which is nice, but it's mostly in here for the psychic attack. For one psychic, you do colorless, you do 10 base and 60 more for each energy attached to your opponent's active. Now, obviously, you're a psychic type, so first thought is really Mewtwo. You can try and retaliate on them straight away once they've committed to one Mewtwo, which is awesome. Also, it actually puts a good shift in against Centiskorch as well, because they typically kind of go overboard on attachments on their own guys, and you can really punish that with a Psychic, because your multiplier is higher than theirs. So that's very cool. We also have a Milotic V, again, helping out Centiskorch, helping out against other Welder variants, even helping out against Mewtwo. Obviously, people's first thoughts when they think of Aurora box is they think about the Indeedee. They're careful with their Mewtwo, and then you can hit their Charizards that they put down with the Milotic, so something to bear in mind there. That Aqua Impact with just a water and 2 colorless allows you to do 10 base plus 50 more for each colorless in their retreat cost, so that ramps pretty nicely for the chunky fire stuff out there. The Charizards, the Heatrans, the Centiskorches, that sort of thing. So Milotic, again, can be a nice way into finding ourselves a one-shot, which is cool. We technically can attack with Crobat as well. Venomous Fang does 70 in poison. I've not found myself doing this just yet, but it can be a way to get a 2 energy attack off. So again, if you're running low on energy cards and need to finish something off, Crobat can put that shift in for you. Obviously, for the most part, he's a drawing option, allowing us to top our hand size back up. Can be really helpful if we're holding on to like a Welder but need the energies, for example. So sometimes it can have upside over Dedenne, which is cool. We are playing 2 Eldegoss to recover supporter cards. We have a fairly low supporter count. We want to Welder a bunch. We want to access boss when need be. I found Eldegoss to be very nice, and I really like having a high Pokemon communication count in here because of the flexibility of attackers that we have. So I like having a high Pokemon count. Same reason why we have such a high Dedenne count in addition to the Crobats. Dedenne change obviously very useful. This one does have a decent attack as well, as does really, I mean, Eldegoss has Float Up, which can be a means of getting itself back into the deck so you can get more supporters out. But Dedenne GX I've used a couple of times in panic situations. That Tingly Return GX, just paralyzing something and putting some preliminary damage on, is actually reasonable, and it can be used defensively, which is really the only defensive option that we have in this list right now outside of like Amani. So yeah, something else to consider for the Dedenne in this deck exactly. The final card is Dubwool. Should have mentioned this earlier really, but he is kind of a late game card regardless. 210 base hit points plus that soft wool ability makes him quite tanky for a 2-prize Pokemon. That Revenge Blast with a vanilla 120 means he actually can put a shift in the early turns, similar to Heatran, where he can just take a 1-prize knockout and be tanky in his own regard and just sort of not be dealt with, which is okay for just early game trades, especially if you can then lead into a Heatran after this, for example, if it doesn't get knocked out. And really it shines in that latter stage of the game where Revenge Blast does 30 more for each prize card your opponent's taken. Hopefully this can be a great way to just have a 3 energy insta-kill on a V or a tag team, or if you've put some early damage on something, finish them off with a Revenge Blast, no problem. That's kind of the idea there. The trainers are all very vanilla because all of our excitement comes in the form of the Pokemon. So 4 Orbs of Switch, Quick Ball, Com, and Gear, all very simple stuff. I shouldn't really have to justify these too much. We also have 2 Air Balloon. We have fat retreat cost on basically everyone in here, so the switches and the balloons come in very handy. We have 3 copies of Giant Hearth. You could consider 4, but I'm already playing 15 total energies, so we have that's something to bear in mind. You could always think about putting that 4th copy in. You could think about putting in Marshadow if you are concerned about Swell. Those are things that I have reset stamp in the format because I believe the game is often decided way earlier, but I still like having the option of Marnie. It's just a one-of, so it's also accessible via Eldegoss to reuse and accessible via Pokegear, so it's a lot less random than a one-of stamp or even a two-of stamp in Welder decks. It's so random to hit that at the right time when you're playing Welder decks, because you're Dedenne changing so much, you're thinning your hand so much for Crobat, you're doing all this other stuff, and you only get to draw 3 cards with your main supporter use, so you don't dig too deep outside of Dedenne, which is dumping the stuff that you already have. So I find Marnie to be a lot less random than Stamp. Yes, a lot less effective than Stamp, like overall for disruption, but it gives you an option, and I believe Stamp is so hit and miss that it's not really worth playing 2 spaces. And if you play 1, I mean, it's just like good luck to you. Like 1 in 5 games it comes in the right time, and all the other times you just dump it early or half it away or whatever. So yeah, that's why I like Marnie. It's more usable than Stamp, is the bottom line really. Couple copies of Boss. I think alongside the double Eldegoss, I found this pretty okay, and Gear gives us good access to it. But really, the bread and butter's Welder, especially when you have lower hit point things, you know, just regular 2 prize Vs attacking a lot. You need to weld it into Welder quite a lot more because your attacker just gets important. The Auroras obviously do have extra discarding, which is something to bear in mind, but it's a good way that you can thin some of these attackers that aren't right for the situation. For Flare Starter as well, that's kind of the biggest deal. Other cards I've really considered, Cramorant is certainly one, Vikavolt is another one. I think Vikavolt is super niche. I found it most useful, obviously, like against Inteleon and other water-based decks, so they're really unlikely to attack you early, and you can actually do good pressure prods when you're hitting for weakness, obviously. So Vikavolt's good against the water matchups. It's also very good against Baby Blacephalon, especially if they only play like 13 fires and just have a higher count of crystals and retreat. Kind of niche. Vikavolt does provide a different defensive option though, because again, Marnie plus item lock can sometimes make it harder for your opponent to get out of. As long as the Vikavolt isn't knocked out, then you're like accumulating energies, giving yourself more time to weld to other stuff, etc. Build up threats to finish the game. So Vikavolt, yes, it's a defensive option. I found it like a 1 in 10 game kind of card though, so I ended up trimming it just to max out the consistency cards overall. So yeah, those are the 2 cards I've mostly considered attacking wise. Don't think there are too many other decent attackers that I can consider. So yeah, I'm happy with those really. My point clear that I don't like Stamp too much in the meta, just the way the game is right now. But anyways, we'll get into some games, and we'll see how we go. I haven't actually recorded like regular gameplay in a while. I'm a bit rusty. I've had a cold and I've been doing a few other things. A few good things in the background. Obviously doing set review stuff and stuff like that. Okay. The hand actually isn't as bad as it looks, because when you play Heatran, you're allowed to weld it to anything. That's a small upside of Burning Road as well. It makes these stupid plays look less stupid. I was going to say smart, but less stupid makes more sense. Alright, looks like we're up against Pikarom. Rhyperior pretty okay against Pikarom. The numbers aren't fantastic, but they also can't reach 230 very easily without the help of the obvious Choo-Choo GX attack. You like to see. We get an energy, we get options as well with Quick Ball. I'm always swinging an energy here. Two tag teams down, which makes me think that's... I could cut my losses and just Dede change now, but I'm thinking a Crobat play next turn is probably the smartest thing. No, that doesn't make sense. We'll just pass. This is okay. I'm only really concerned about a Crushing Hammer. The fact that they radar'd away a Crushing might mean that they're holding multi. It does mean that Heatran is still an option to one-bop him though. Only really concerned about Swell. Pikarom's definitely a Swell deck. Okay, they're going to Marnie away a super solid hand. But we didn't have the guaranteed like Heatran or anything, so we can live with it. This hand may be even more solid actually, depending on the outcome of Gear. Just a pass. Giant Hearth is a very good card. So I think I'm hearthing away Switch. And then I'm quick ball. Then I am gearing. Then I'm quick balling. If we hit Welder or... Yeah, okay. I can always manually attach to Dedenne if need be. Let's have a look, see what's going on here. Heatran's in here. Indeedee's actually interesting as well, an interesting option. Double's okay, Rhyperior. I could just Eldegoss Welder as well to guarantee, actually. Let's think about this. Quick Ball away the gear for Eldegoss for Welder. 1-2, then see what's what. Okay, I think I like it more than going like good odds. We'll play safe because he's had a relatively slow start. Active seems okay. I could still find switch outs and balloon. Do I want to pitch a Rhyperior and just play with 1 this game? I think 1's okay, seeing as though looks like I'm gearing up for like Heatran plays, and I'm looking at this Charizard doing a decent chunk of work. I think I prefer spending the switch here. Actually, I need to be a little bit worried about Tandem Shock because they can play Tag Switch and Energy Switch plays, and they still have Coco live. So instead, we'll Balloon. And we'll take our Flare Strike. We'll take our 2. Giant Hearth's not bad. Pokemon is really good for the Calm out. So what problems are we going to come up against? Really, it's just the fact that we can go down to 1 prize quite easily here. We can obviously like bop this guy, and then he's gonna stamp and try and like swing the entire game. So 4, 5. I definitely want to attach to Rhyperior this turn, so I think what I'm doing is I'm making Heatran. Heatran's gobbling up these 5. And then we're attaching to Rhyperior and also trying to find Welder. I should keep Quick Ball as outs to Crobat and other stuff, so I should play the Calm now. It doesn't thin for the gear, which is the only problem, but I think I can live with it. Nice. Okay, we're putting a lot of pressure on here. I need to think about this. If I do it this way around, he can Gust and kill Rhyperior. Then I can just try and hit him twice with Heatran anyways. This is probably fine. And all of these are good outs to hold. So we'll just do this. We're getting stamped. We're probably getting Lightning Rod GX'd. Or Tandem Shocked. We still have 2 switches, I believe. Or an energy away from game if he can't kill Rhyperior, or if he can't paralyze trap Rhyperior. Alright, there's Bolton getting an energy. So, are we going to see Stamp? Are we going to see Marnie away with Heavy Rock? 2 Crushings played. There's Aurora, not too helpful. He gets some breathing room. Calm is a good card. This is our second Rhyperior going down. 6, 12, 18. We're just doing this and attaching to Reshizard, to be honest, because I can just try and 2-shot him with Reshizard, Outrage, plus Heatran. And this opens up Welder in case he swells. and it thins the deck for Pokemon. You know, it's got to be better than attaching Aurora and dumping everything else. Crushing Hammer. Has to go for the active. Alright, he's just going to Tandem Shock. We're still on track here. The only thing we're concerned about is, obviously, he'll move out of this Raichu next turn and try to get us that way. Is it better for me to swing with Reshizard now or swing with Heatran now? Let's think about this. We're at 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. 16 with the base, so it doesn't matter too much. I guess I play around Crushing Hammers better if I swing with Outrage this turn. Not Hearthing Away switch here, because there's weird plays he can make by like paralyzing Heatran and trying to set could try and make. So he attaches to the Raichu. So he's just GXing here. Puts us in one top deck to win. Any Pokemon is an out. Yeah, he was holding a lot of energy switch shenanigans. Coco as well. So 2 Gears, 2 Boss, 2 Quick Balls. Any Pokemon. Well, any Pokemon gets us Crobat, right? It doesn't get us game because we don't have a boss in the bin. Alright, he's still playing. He could be Crobatting for Stamp, maybe. Eldegoss for Gary. Alright, we'll see what we see. You hate to see it. You hate to see that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 outs of a 26 card deck. That sucks. Well, alright. 17 outs of a 26 card deck. That's pretty good odds. I think the duds that we drew on the opening, on like the first few duds. Pretty rough. We put ourselves in a spot where we needed so little as well. Pretty rough. We will go second. Going second with a guaranteed Welder play. Looking nice, looking nice. It's funny how much I like ragged on Stamp and then we lose to Stamp. But Picarom's a much, much better Stamp deck than Welder decks, in fairness. Stamp and Pray is such a scuffed attempt. Alright, we're up against Mewtwo and Mew. Looks like they can bin an Incineroar here before their Dedenne. The early Cherish. Obvious things we're looking for, Indeedee. Oh, okay. Okay. Do I want to attach to anything but Heatran this turn? Rhyperior is like actually an interesting one because you can drill run for the 80 and really make life difficult for the Mewtwo because you take the energy off them. But then he can respond with the Scar Charge, hit me for 130, get rid of the energy, and then I can't go into the Heavy Rock Artillery. Heatran doing 130 into a response of like Indeedee or even like double works. I can try and set up a Reshizard to just be huge. I think we start here. See what's what. Reshizard's here, Indeedee's here, double is here. Crobat's here. Okay. 8 and 3 Auroras. I think we're attaching to our boy Heatran early on. I think I'm going to go Heatran into double as like the 2-shot, 130 into 150. Sorry, into 180. And then we have like backup plays of Milotic or Indeedee. Mewtwo basically always has to attack with 3 prizes, so I can see myself getting rid of 2 Boss here pretty happily. Can see myself getting rid of Victini quite happily as well. Com for any Crobat players don't seem worth it. This is a fine hand to hold, I think. We'll just stomp. Hearth is likely to stay in play, so we have Com for Eldegoss plus Hearth. I'm going to Hearth away a Naganadel. They can Welder. Quick Ball as well now. Getting rid of that Incineroar. Throw them in the bin. Nothing takes the 1-shot just yet. There's another 3 prize boy. Ah, they do have the 1-shot. They're gonna spend their GX attack, which is fine. We have the guaranteed response with Welder, attach Aurora, swing for the 180. And then we're pretty tanky into anything he can make, right? We actually top the Welder, which means I don't need to spend a Dene, which is really... Weld first, see what we see. If I can save Auroras, I'll try to, because we want to try and finish with Indeedee. And this protects us against Crushing Punch as well. Putting this on the double opens up Heatran GX plays, which I'm a fan of. I really want to pitch these cards, but the hand is actually super good. The hand is just so insane that I can't thin any cards here. can see the welder from them. Straight on to Mewtwo. I don't know why I was talking about Heatran players. This balloon should be here. Super Rod's an interesting card in this deck as well. Oh, sorry, Ordinary Rod. My head's all over the place today. You can tell I haven't done this in a while, right? Ordinary Rod's a decent card in this deck just to recover some pieces. Ah, so they actually do play Jirachi. No, they're going to throw it away. Okay. I guess they haven't seen any Auroras yet, and there's no reason to believe I play Auroras. But oh boy, do we. 12, 24. Yeah, that's a lot of damage. That's a lot of damage, my boy. Even played the Jirachi. Feels bad, man. We hid every tech attacker until that point. It was only like 3 turns in, but still. Yeah, nice win there against Mewtwo. Two prize deck versus 3 prize deck, where we're able to one-shot at least once in the game. It's a pretty good exchange. Alright, we keep winning that coin flip, which is great. We get to send our opponents. Never feels great, but this is a solid opening. Another Pikarom. Maybe we can get Redemption. Maybe. Koko, interesting. That Big Charm's actually a very big deal against Koko coming down early. Looks like he's got Dedenne plays up his sleeve. Is he Boltoned? Swell down early is a huge pain. Switch to Protect, I guess. They don't want to take early damage, which makes sense. This hand can get yeeted. We will use a not welder. Now, real talk, is it worth trying to draw into some fires before I Flare Starter for some increased odds? I think it might be. Also, if I can find... the sooner I find these Hearths, the sooner I'll be able to dictate, because typically they only play like 2 swell maximum. Let's consider this double. I think I consider it a good play because the Volk is almost always dying based on his start with the Koko dropping early. I could retreat and play Switch as well. It's my first one to go, so I think I'm a fan. Looking for just red energies and Hearths. Hearth is good. We'll try and dictate this as quickly as possible. I'm going to do this. I'm going to swing 2 onto Rhyperior and 1 onto Double, I think, here. There's no need to put them on the Heatran. These could have put all 3 to Rhyperior, to be honest. Plays around hammers maybe a little better. Maybe threatens that heavy rock artillery slightly more. Pitching some energy so they can Koko. Looks like we're getting blitz. Pika to Pika, possibly prized Raichu. Or he's really playing towards that Blitz. Blitz is a pretty good thing to work towards when they can take a 1 prize KO, but I'm going to try and just stay 2 prize now. Alright, we want to try and go Rhyperior, right? Any Fire Energy is busted here. Any... I mean, I can always just Ditto Change and try and hit Welder anyways. So... It is yucky, though. The power of the one swell that they sometimes play. Stay hopeful. How many energies have gone? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I feel like I need to pitch in DD here. I don't like it too much though. Set 2 Rhyperiors up. But 1 Heavy Rock here would be nuts. Ooh, actually hitting what you want. Incredible. We'll give that guy a good booting. And without Raichu, it's just hammers that save them, right? Stamp, obviously still on the table. We only have 1 Welder accessible. So again, they're looking for Stamp Disruption. 1's already gone. If they attack with Pikarom this turn, they're in a lot of trouble. Yeah, they have to attack with Bolton this turn. The fact that we can spread our energy is such a pain for him, though. More Crushings coming in. The classic comeback into the game just for 2 heads. It's pretty sad that Pikarom survives entirely based on those coin flips as well. It's just what it is. They're digging hard for Stamp here, no matter what. Another Swell, so they are playing the double Swell, which is, again, a huge problem. 3 heads. Brrr. A win condition appeared on 3 heads. It's like... 3 heads, though. 3 heads, though. Boss isn't looking great. This wasn't looking great. Where's this energy have to go? Has to go double, right? I'm feeling really bad about this spot now that we've had 3 Crushing Hammerheads against us. You know, something about... Double might be able to see us through though, right? Again, it's like Stamp to 1, Teehee. That kind of play. Marnie isn't Stamp, at least. It could be Marnie into Stamp, though. Alright, we're there, right? Because we dumped the bosses. Well played, bro. You really earned that almost win. With some sick flips. Some kick flips. Well, I'm fully salty after playing against 2 Pikaroms now. I guess that's enough for today. You did get to see a few of the attackers in action. You saw Indeedee do pretty well. You saw Rhyperior come in a few shifts. Milotic is obvious, so hopefully we saw some good ins and outs there. If you want to improve your time against Swell, like I said, Marshallow's a card. I think that's it, right? So yeah, those are the only changes I'd consider really. I'll see you soon for another video. Myself and Jack are going to be going over the OPOP League stuff and decks for Players Cup 2. So I know Players Cup 2, like everyone's done their tournament tickets, but it's like when the actual tournament starts, different mentality. You know what I mean? So thanks for watching. I'll see you later.